Hey there, today is Monday, August 10th, and the banner restriction announcement for Magic the Gathering will be live in just a few moments. And before then, I wanted to share with you my predictions. So, in Vintage, I'm expecting that the Fantasticar will become restricted. In Legacy, I am betting that the Fantasticar will become banned. As for other formats, I'm not really sure, but those two are what I'm expecting. That said, I'm a little conflicted about Legacy. Should the Fantasticar be banned? Probably yes is the answer, but so should Temu Inquisitive Student, and maybe even Flow State. So should the One Ring, for example. There's a whole lot of cards that, in theory, should be banned, but over the last year or so, the power level has increased again since that initial Fire Design wave. And is the Fantasticar any more egregious than Temu Inquisitive Student or Flow State? That's where I'm not so sure. Should it be banned? Yes. Like, I'm not trying to pretend that the Fantasticar isn't an inherently powerful card. That said, I think that Wizards of the Coast is more reluctant to ban fair blue cards like Tamiyo Inquisitive Student or Flow State, even though they are over the line. The Fantasticar is a really powerful card. 16 power on turn one can be really, really game breaking. That said, as someone who plays a lot of Fantasticar decks, there's a bunch of matchups where it's not particularly good. And I think that it's not always easy to see that. Or you have to play out a spell a turn earlier so that way the Fantasticar can be the third spell in order to trigger it. There's nuance to the card. People like to just pretend it's count to three and then win the game after you play your fourth spell. I say three for 3 mana, and then the fourth card triggering the Fantasticar itself. But it's not just ABC 1, 2, 3. There actually is more gameplay to it, and I'm interested to see what happens today in Legacy. I feel like a restriction is 100% happening in Vintage, but I could be wrong there. I just don't think I am. So that's where I'm at right now. If I was on a Legacy format panel, I would probably ban the Fantasticar. That said, Tamiyo Inquisitive Student and Flow State and the One Ring would also, there'd be a hit somewhere. If it's just the Fantasticar today, I'm a little concerned because Wizards of the Coast said that they don't want to make changes right before Eternal Weekend. There is one more ban restricted announcement right before this one goes live. So, or well, I should rephrase that. There's one more ban restricted announcement before Eternal Weekend. So there'll be one more opportunity to correct Legacy before then. That said, The Hobbit releases next week. And in The Hobbit, there's Bilbo, the new blue Dreadhorde Arcanist that's a 2/2 that allows you to replay an instant sorcery or artifact from your graveyard. If it's an instant or sorcery card, it gets exiled. Artifacts don't get exiled, so you could just loop Mishra's Bauble like you would Lurrus of the Dream Den. So this is a 2-mana blue Lurrus of the Dream Den. And on top of that, your instants and sorceries that you cast from other than your hand get reduced by 1, which means you could play Flow State for 1 mana out of your graveyard. Bilbo is going to be another boost to these really broken blue decks. So you're going to have Tamiyo Inquisitive Student, you're going to have Flow State and Bilbo all legal. If they ban the Fantasticar, these blue, really soupy, powerful blue decks are going to dominate. And I think the Fantasticar gives you an area of attack or angle of attack versus those decks. So I mean, they're just playing whack-a-mole at this point. It was Oops All Spells, it was the Colorless Tron deck, and now it's the Fantasticar. But none of those have been bans where they've actually hit the blue soup shell that keeps on getting really broken cards printed into it. So if I was on the Wizards of the Coast team, I'd be looking to make a change there. But they seem to be content with banning one card at a time and never out of a blue deck, which doesn't necessarily seem fair to the rest of the format, but that's sort of just the way it is. They tend to think that Legacy moves slowly, and I would agree with that, but there are several ban cycles behind at this point because they keep on dragging their feet. So they need to make more sweeping changes, especially with Eternal Weekend approaching. The last few years of Eternal Weekends, they've been really hesitant or reluctant to make any changes, and then it's caused player drop off because nobody wanted to play in the Reanimator, Eternal Weekend, that sort of thing. And you could be in the same situation with the Fantasticar. Although, if you ban the Fantasticar and some of those blue cards, maybe you'd have a really healthy format, which would be great. So there's about another minute left, and then I'll start refreshing the page to see the change goes live, but that's where I'm at. I am not anti-Fantasticar ban. I think it probably should be banned, but I just don't love the way that Wizards of the Coast has handled Legacy over the last 2 to 3 years. I think it could be a lot better. And like For example, a lot of people were upset in the comment section on my last BNR update that I was surprised that they banned Candelabra of Tanos instead of the One Ring. But I'm it's tough because I think Candelabra of Tanos isn't actually the problem, but Legacy has seen the blue Tron deck disappear. It is now 11 a.m. Let's refresh and see if the changes are live. The Fantasticar is banned. The Fantasticar is restricted. Yeah, I mean, that's what I guessed. So before I go and read their description or why, I would like to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's video, Into the AM. If you're still wearing boxy, cheap t-shirts, it's time for a serious upgrade. Into the AM sent over their ultimate basic tees. They give you a tailored athletic fit, 4-way stretch, and a shape-retaining collar that won't crinkle after one wash. Plus, they carry everything from graphic tees to button-up, shorts, and even polos, all premium quality without the high-end price tag. Grab a 3-pack right now for just $47. Head over to intotheam.com/theepicstorm to grab yours. All right, welcome back. So let's look at this. So the changes updated today. We'll jump to Legacy. The Fantasticar is banned. What? There's no... There's not even a reason why. No rationale, nothing. Guess we'll be tuning into weekly MTG. All right, so let's at least see what the Pauper format panel says. They've been eyeing Sneaky Snacker. They've been eyeing Sneaky Snacker for months. I really feel like this is a card and the bridges that should be banned. I agree the Bonder's Ornament. I mean, so I am good friends with Alex Ullman. We're both New York Metropolitans fans, and we chat about Magic the Gathering as well. And Alex, over the last few years, checks in with me every couple months to see how I'm feeling about Pauper. And my feedback is usually, it's really embarrassing that Prophetic Prism and Bonder's Ornament are banned. And now they're both unbanned, but that was my feedback for a long time, that those cards were actually terrible. And they're like a joke to be on the ban list, and it's good to see them both unbanned at this point. Let's see their more detailed article. So they're diving right into Sneaky Snacker. There's no indication that Sneaky Snacker's been too strong. I'm just scrolling through and, getting the highlights here. All right, going back to this. I'm a little disappointed. They couldn't even bother to put the rationale in the article. Just ban changes with no reasoning. I'm really disappointed here. At least tell us what you were thinking or why. And no mention of anything blue. I mean, they didn't give us mention of anything, but, we're about to have Bilbo. There's Flow State, Tameo Inquisitive Student. I get that people have this visceral reaction to hating combo, and trust me, I'm a combo main. I'm aware. I also have a lot of experience playing other archetypes, but hating the Fantasticar is visceral because it happens quickly and you feel like you didn't really stand a chance. And I get that. However, your opponent grinding you to a pulp with card accumulation over time gives you a false sense that you were ever in the game. So Tameo Inquisitive Student, Flow State, Bilbo, these are all sort of the cards that do that. And it feels like you were allowed to play, but in reality you weren't. And people have this mental hurdle between the differences, and I don't think the Fantasticar was any more broken than Tameo. And yet Tameo's got to live for a year. Like, I would have banned the Fantasticar. I said that before I even went live today. But I wish that the ban restricted team did better. That's really where I'm at. So I can't say much else because they didn't bother to say anything else in the article. No rationale, nothing. I guess you should tune into Daily MTG tomorrow. That's what I've got for today. Thank you for watching, and as always, storming.